I just made the biggest purchase of the year thus far, and for the first time ever, I finally timed the market correctly. I recently upgraded to the 14-inch M2 Pro MacBook Pro, and some people might riot at this, but I got the base model. 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of SSD memory is already double of what I was running previously. You see, for the past 2 years since I became a filmmaker, photographer, or content creator, or whatever I am, I've been running a 2020 Intel MacBook Pro, the base model. And honestly, I upgraded for one main reason. I was tired of making proxies when video editing. My main camera that I record on is the Canon R5, which I'm actually using right now. And no joke, I'm not even kidding, just to record and edit a 1-minute video in Final Cut Pro 10 every single day, it was taking me around 2 hours. So this video is geared at those of you who are still using Intel chip MacBooks and are considering upgrading to the M series. And in short, if you pause this video or you log off this video right now, I'm honestly convinced that this technology was sent to Earth by aliens. Let's start with what you get in the box, and in typical Apple fashion, it's pretty minimalistic. You get the laptop itself, you have your charging brick, and then you have your MagSafe cable along with some stickers and the manual. I'm glad the stickers are black because those are the ones I prefer personally. Now, before we boot up the laptop, let's talk about the physical changes and the physical features on the exterior of the machine. Now, the first major difference that you'll notice if you're coming from an Intel MacBook is that the touch bar is now completely gone. Now, unlike most people, I actually kind of like the touch bar, but I actually have my laptop docked most of the time into my monitor, so I'm not actually really using the physical keyboard of the laptop itself, so it's not something I'm really going to miss. The touch bar is now replaced with dedicated buttons for volume increase or brightness adjustment, or if you just want to see your drawer of apps, so it's not really that big of a deal. The laptop itself definitely feels sturdier and a little bit heavier, and the vents are definitely more noticeable now. I love the under engraving of the laptop where it says MacBook Pro. I think that's just an amazing finishing touch from Apple that really helps to elevate the quality of their products, and this is just some of those small things that they do to help do that. In my opinion though, the real winner on the exterior here is the ports. We finally have 3 USB-C ports. 2 was just way too little in previous generations. I think 3 is really the sweet spot. I wouldn't even mind if Apple had included 4. I love that they have the built-in SD card reader now, which means that you can do away with USB-C dongles, and that way you actually end up freeing up another port potentially. MagSafe has also returned now for charging, which is a welcomed addition. I always enjoyed MagSafe on the previous laptops that I have had in the past from Apple. And Apple also included the HDMI 2.1 port because why not? There's literally no port missing from this laptop. Now, when you initially boot up the MacBook, you might not notice a difference right away, and for most regular tasks, I don't really think that you will. But as a photographer and filmmaker, the most computing intensive task that I personally do is video editing. Now, on the Canon R5, which I mentioned is the camera I use, there's an 4K HQ mode, which is basically an oversampled image from the 8K sensor in a 4K format. Now, generally these files are huge and highly complex. Like a 1-minute video is usually around 2 to 3 gigs depending in what frame rate you're shooting in. So whenever I would drag these files into Final Cut Pro 10 on my Intel MacBook, it would instantly freeze and I would have to create something called a proxy. Now with the M2 Pro, and this honestly really blew me away, I was able to drag in the files immediately and start editing without any waiting or upload or processing time. I could even scrub through the footage, which was just absolutely incredible. Now, for most people, if you're not a filmmaker or a video editor, you might not understand the significance of that, but this is honestly life-changing and is going to save multiple hours a day for me personally. And even with this function running and on, I can go into my dock and open up every single application, and the computer will do so without even even blinking, which is actually quite ironic because on my old Intel MacBook, I actually had to close everything down except for Final Cut Pro 10 if I was planning on doing a heavy edit. I've only had this laptop for like a week now, but it has already literally saved me hours of time and has allowed me to reclaim that time to put towards projects that I had long forgotten about or put off. Buying this laptop is actually one of the reasons that I've now returned to long form YouTube content, because I finally have the opportunity to do so with a machine that's able to process the video that's recorded out of my Canon R5. So let's quickly talk about if this is a laptop for you and something that you should consider buying. And there's sort of two different markets: people that already have an M chip and people that don't and are still using the Intel MacBooks. And let's start with those folks that are still using the Intel MacBooks. If you're on an Intel machine, it's time to ditch it and move into the M series. And it really doesn't matter which one that you're jumping into. All of them are incredible machines. The M series chips are total game changers compared to the Intel chips. They don't even compare, honestly. I think that if you haven't changed yet, now is the time to do so. And there's never been a better time because the M2 Pro just came out. The M1 chips all have incredible sale deals, and you can probably pick one up for a really decent price. Now, let's talk about people that already have an M chip laptop. To be honest, each increment moving forward in the M series is going to be just that, an incremental improvement. So if you're not already maxing out your M1 machine, it's probably not worth it for you to upgrade to the M2 Pro. Now, surprisingly for most people, and I probably would have never said this in the past, the best choice is a MacBook Air. The M2 or the M1 MacBook Air are excellent choices and super, you get incredible value for how much money you're putting in. It's literally half the cost of the M2 MacBook Pro that I just bought, and it has plenty of computing power for most people. Like I said, I've only had this laptop for a week, so I'm still playing around with it, but I wanted to come on here and make this initial impression video for anyone who might be on the fence, because I was on the fence for a little bit thinking about, is this actually worth it? Is this going to make a significant difference in my life? And the answer is yes. If you're waiting for rendering times or proxies as a filmmaker or content creator, trust me, get this laptop. You will thank me for it. You'll thank yourself for getting it, because you're literally going to save hours on your day, and it's going to allow you to have more free time or dedicate that time towards other projects. But if you guys are interested in seeing how my thoughts evolve on the M2 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro over time, and you want to see my long-term review, don't forget to subscribe. I'll probably start also rolling out more MacBook Pro content, like the best plugins for Final Cut Pro 10, maybe like the best applications and the best way to set up your laptop, just because with this laptop I can now create that content. But for this video specifically, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one, and until then, keep creating.